Hey YouTube, here going to talk about things going on in the world around us, and I'm just going to say it. The goalposts continue to move. The virus that has shut the world down is looking to do the same once again, and this time, what do you know? The timing of it. We have an election coming up in a few months, and it's starting to look like very similar to the 2020 election. The lockdowns will start happening again. They'll start saying, they'll start closing polling places. You might have to, in some areas of the country, be subject to being forced to do a mail-in thing. If you think this is just me being a conspiracy theorist, you're allowed to tell me that, sure. But let me just present to you my theory as to why. First and foremost, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have very much been changing their tune, often very easily with the wind. Just by example, both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden spoke their distrust about the thing in the arm that Donald Trump developed. Kamala Harris, notably, right before election, says she won't be taking anything in the arm that came from Donald Trump. And go figure, now that she's in power, she is saying everyone should be getting the thing in the arm. Joe Biden, for example, 7 months ago said he wouldn't be forcing people to get the thing in the arm. And now, go figure, he's saying the opposite. Let me just show you what he said 7 months ago.
Arm. And it's going to be very difficult for that to be done, and it's very expensive.
While Mr. Biden said he would be willing to get a vaccine, he would not require it for all Americans.
I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power, just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide.
He also acknowledged.
All right, we hear that. He said, I don't think it should be mandatory. I don't even think masks should be mandatory nationwide. Then here's where his tune starts to change. This was about a week ago. Literally being asked about COVID misinformation.
COVID misinformation. On COVID misinformation, what's your message to platforms like Facebook?
They're killing people. I mean, it really, look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. And they're killing people.
Well, he said it himself. He said the only pandemic we have right now is among the unvaccinated, and they're killing people, as he said. Well, that's not true at all, because check this out. 74% of COVID cases from Massachusetts outbreak are in fully vaccinated people. So there's an entire state showing 75% almost of those with COVID are now fully vaccinated people. So here's his new tune that he's singing.
Like many civilian hospital systems are doing, the Department of Veterans Affairs will now require COVID-19 vaccines for doctors and nurses and other healthcare workers who provide medical care for our veterans. We must do everything possible to protect our veterans from getting COVID when they come to get medical care they so richly earn serving their country. We owe them. Next, since many vaccinations are required for active duty military today, I'm asking the Defense Department to look into how and when they will add COVID-19 to the list of vaccinations the armed forces must get.
All right, that's armed forces, so that's one. But he took it to the next level. He now says every federal employee should be required to be vaccinated. And it's just a call to action. He hasn't put it in place yet. But when he was asked about it, he was asked about, well, what about states? Biden said, like the state of California example, will be requiring every state employee to get the thing in the arm. But he said he wants states, schools, and private businesses to continue to mandate, I'll just say, things in the arm. And here's exactly what he said.
Push for vaccine mandates in states, private companies, schools. Do you want to see those entities pass vaccine mandates?
Well, I'd like to see them continue to move in that direction, and that's why I pointed out. I had asked the Justice Department to determine whether they're able to do that legally, and they can. Local communities can do that. Local businesses can do that. It's still a question whether the federal government can mandate the whole country. I don't know that yet.
Yeah, he can't, but, 7 months ago he said he wasn't going to. But when has Joe Biden ever been a man of his word? The pervasive theory that people like Joe Biden are continuing to perpetuate to justify these mandating vaccines to all federal employees and, as he said, the whole country, is the Delta variant. Joe Biden himself says the Delta variant is more deadly. Well, according to the World Health Organization, at one point, the gold standard of information for this government says the Delta variant is not more deadly. And I'll link this article in the description of this video. But the World Health Organization has not recorded higher mortality rates from the Delta. Again, I'll link the article, but let's just comment on that really quick. Our current government is saying the Delta virus is more deadly, so that's why we have to mandate things to arm and bring the mask mandates back all across the country. But clearly, that's not the case. Once again, I'll show you guys this as a reason why we shouldn't be mandating vaccines. 74% of COVID-19 cases from Massachusetts outbreak occurred in fully vaccinated people. So, now that's evidence to show why the vaccine is, one, potentially not as effective as we want it to be, and two, an unnecessary risk we should be forcing people to get. It is, let's face the reality of this. It is a risk to get a vaccine always. And just to share this one more time, because I've shared this in a few other videos, according to Johns Hopkins University, there hasn't been a single death of someone under 18 in this country without a comorbidity. And with comorbidities, meaning cancer, meaning leukemia, meaning a life-threatening disease, with a comorbidity, it's only 400 kids in this country in the entire year and a half, or however long we've been dealing with COVID-19. Yet, from people under 18 who are able to take the thing in the arm, that's 16 and older allowed to take it, there have been dozens of deaths from that side effects. Heart failure after taking, people already fully healthy having under 18 heart failure from getting the thing in the arm. So, it is obviously a risk to get the thing in the arm. Here's evidence as to why the thing in the arm isn't as effective as we know. And raises the question, why are we trying to lock everything down again if a viable way to stopping this virus has been herd immunity? It's what Sweden's been doing. It's why Sweden has the lowest infection rate in the country, because there is a natural immunity to COVID-19. Does getting the thing in the arm prevent you from getting the virus? But does it allow you to actually spread the virus? Because that's what we were being told in the very beginning of this pandemic, is you can spread the virus without actually not having the virus. Is that true? If you get the vaccine, can you spread the virus? And is that why they're saying this is a pandemic among the unvaccinated? No, that's not the case, because if you get the thing in the arm, you can still get the virus. Does the thing in the arm actually make you more susceptible to the virus? Who knows? Point is, Sweden has been doing herd immunity, and they've been doing amazing. And Mali, the most vaccinated per capita country in the world, it's an island nation of 500,000 people. 75% plus of that island nation of 500,000 people includes children. 75% plus of that nation has already been vaccinated, and they have a very high infection rate. Right now, as we speak, 2,500 people on this small island nation of 500,000 people currently have COVID-19. That's a very high infection rate, much higher than most areas in the United States, even with them being so highly vaccinated. So why are people like Joe Biden coming out and saying, get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the thing in the arm? I'm just saying vaccine because that's already been said a bunch. But why is this happening? Because Big Pharma makes money off of their production of this vaccine, and our government sends money to Big Pharma to produce these vaccines. So Big Pharma has some incentive potentially under the table to get this vaccine going. And that's why even with Fox News, you have people like Sean Hannity pumping the vaccine to go get it, because the number one funder of cable news, whether it's CNN or Fox in this country, is Big Pharma. That's why you go to a commercial break and all you see are these ads for like, oh, you have arthritis, take this drug and it'll get rid of your arthritis. It might cause you to die, but take this drug. It'll get rid of your knee pain. Because the demographic who watches cable news is 65 and older, and that is the ideal target demographic for people in that age range. It's just television, or just marketing 101 is that's the ads go where the audience is, and that's just, if you put those two things together, you might be able to understand why people on CNN especially are harping so much on getting the thing in the arm. Don Lemon, for example, I forgot to pull this clip up. Maybe I'll do a whole video on this. Don Lemon says, you shouldn't be able to go shop at a grocery store or go see a movie in a movie theater if you haven't been vaccinated. It's an unreasonable statement. And here, just to even touch on the whole, the virus itself. Even with the unvaccinated, the survival rate among the virus is 98.98. That's still very similar to the flu numbers. And if I'll just repeat this one again, because I repeat this one a bunch, but in 2019, 36 million people had the flu. In 2020, 1,900 people had the flu. Where did those numbers go? If people everywhere are getting COVID, what did the flu just magically disappear? No, actually, I don't know if you guys knew this, but hospitals get a $36,000 grant for every time someone gets COVID. There's incentive right there for hospitals to list someone as having COVID-19. Now, I've made it this far, and you probably have already disliked if you're on this side of the fence, but you should know that if you want to go get the thing in the arm, I support your personal choice to do it. But I do not support because I agree, it is a dangerous virus, especially if you have an illness or you're old. Just understand that's a risk. But where this is going is soon they're going to be wanting kids going to public school being forced to get the thing in the arm. And there are people on that side of the fence who have children who are like 12 years old who are like, yeah, I'll make my kid get the thing in the arm. And I have a whole video about this too, but I got a call from my insurance company asking if I want my son to be included in a study to get the thing in the arm. But guess what? My son's 18 months old, so fuck you. He's not going to be getting the thing in the arm. And fuck off with shit like that. But next question before I get too heated, because obviously I'm a parent and I don't want my child to have the thing in the arm. And a lot of people will say, well, don't you care about your child's life? It's like, yeah, that's why he's not getting the thing in the arm, and that's why I'm going to continue washing my hands and being extra careful and not going in, into rock concerts and everything until this whole thing is over. And is this whole thing going to be over? Here's the next question. Why are things getting locked down again? Why are mask mandates coming back? Even when we know masking isn't as effective as the media presents it to be. Well, I'll just say it. Here's why. This is what we're looking at, people. This is COVID-19, this is the Delta variant, and this is the new variant or whatever that's going to come that's going to cause the lockdowns prior to the 2022 elections. We're going to see lockdowns again before the end of August. It's happening. And it might not be a new variant, but what it very well could be is people will be getting the thing in the arm everywhere because states like California are forcing all their state employees to do it. There are certain counties like Santa Clara County and San Francisco County that are forcing all of their city employees to get it. And people like Joe Biden going to be forcing everyone in the military to get it. There are people who are now being threatened with their livelihood. And companies like the big tech companies, I won't say their name because I like to keep my job, trying to get it, forcing all their employees to get it unless they want to, dust off their resume and go. And I'll still put the pumps on that a little, pump the brakes a little bit on that. If you are a nurse or a doctor, I understand requiring the thing in the arm because you are literally dealing with people with illnesses all the time. But if you're like a truck driver who never sees anybody in your line of work, being forced to get it doesn't make any sense at all. And I think what's going to happen by the end of August with the new lockdowns is it's like, hey, we have enough vaccinated people. We shouldn't be seeing these high infection rates. Maybe it's just more contagious than we thought. Let's lock it down again. Let's give it another year of people not being able to open their businesses, restaurants going out of business, mom and pop shops everywhere being forced to shutter their doors because companies like Amazon are going to make another $500 million extra in profit because they're going to be taking from these stores that can't stay open because of these lockdowns. The unemployment rate again is going to shoot up, and somehow through some mental gymnastics, the Democratic Party is going to somehow blame this on Trump for this this whole disaster when they are promoting the vaccines he developed. It's disgusting political theater that is not doing great for mental health. We haven't even talked about the suicide rate going through the roof. And here's just one thing to share, a personal anecdote, but my grandmother watches Fox, and she has sisters who are her same age, and they're like close to 90s, who watch CNN, who literally will not leave their home because they're afraid of the unvaccinated. My grandmother, when I saw her this week, she was like, "You're going to die if you don't get the thing in the arm." And I said, "Don't talk to me about it because I'm going to scream at you, and I don't want to scream at you because I want to maintain a good relationship with my grandmother." And I know that she is so embedded in the cable news propaganda that she's just been force-fed for years, that she's like the Mark Twain quote, and many people who are just hard-headed in their ways. It is easier to convince someone of something. What's that Mark Twain quote? I wish I remember it. It's easier to convince someone that. Oh no, it's easier to convince someone of something that is untrue than to convince someone who believes something that is untrue that they are wrong, or something like that. I wish I had that exact quote. But that's sheep mentality for you. It's unbearably frustrating because it's so easy just to connect the dots, especially if you know anything about politics and how disgusting and uncaring politicians actually are. Here's what I'm going to say. It's the time for civil disobedience is now. France, for example, wants to force everybody into another lockdown to the extent of what we saw in Italy, as to where you would need government permission to go to your job. You're going to need signed paperwork saying you're allowed to go to your job, and there's going to be checkpoints where police officers and military personnel will be checking your paperwork to see if you're allowed to be on the road. And if your paperwork doesn't check out, you're going to jail. similar to what Nancy Pelosi has invoked in Washington, D.C., as to where if you're caught without wearing a mask, you'll be going to jail. This, of course, she implemented because she got COVID last week to the Democratic lawmakers who ran away from Texas, who came in to see Pelosi unmasked, and 4 of them got COVID-19, including Nancy Pelosi and some of her staff members. Pelosi obviously not happy about it now, mandating masks, but here's what's hilarious about it. She was in a photo op today, and the same day she's saying you're going to get arrested for not wearing your mask, taking off a mask to just take a picture. Not only doing that, but her next to a family holding a child that, you know, they're the big spreaders of this whole thing. They're the ones who are going to have to continue wearing a mask in certain counties across the nation. Santa Clara County, by example, every child for another year will have to wear a mask because there are rich and powerful lawmakers who are profiting from the creation and the spread of this misinformation, who don't care about your kids and will perfectly well and wholeheartedly throw our kids into the lines of getting these experimental things in the arm that are still only approved for emergency use. And according to the ex-VP of Pfizer, who is being silenced on Facebook, the Pfizer thing in the arm was specifically created for the elderly and for those who are at risk for their health. However, this is not the case at all. Now we're being told that this pandemic is continuing to spread because of the unvaccinated. And we all know, if you've watched this video this far, you know that's a load of bullshit. So, if you want to help spread that information of this being a load of bullshit, please share, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. And I will continue putting out videos like this, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Hope you all have a good one.